Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm your host, Amanda Lamb. In August, the unthinkable happened in our backyard, a shooting on a college campus. It happened at UNC-Chapel Hill. A professor was killed. For hours, students and staff sheltered in place in campus buildings while police searched for the killer. A graduate student was eventually captured and charged in the shooting. He was in court today. So was WRAL investigative reporter Sarah Krueger. Sarah, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So I know today was just a status check on the case. For people that don't know a lot about the criminal justice system, it can take several years for a murder case to go to trial. But this case has slowed down for a slightly different reason. Sarah, what was the purpose of today's hearing?
So it was a capacity hearing. There was one mental health psychiatric evaluation that was done previously. We got the results for it in September in a court appearance. That one was ordered by Tyler Chi's own attorneys. Then we knew that the state wanted to seek its own psychiatric evaluation, and that took a little bit longer than anticipated. So Chi was supposed to be in court for this about 2 weeks ago, but that evaluation was not yet done. And so the court appearance was moved to today, and that was really the focus of today's hearing.
So we've got these two psychiatric evaluations, one done in September, one in November. What did they reveal?
So both came to the same conclusion. They were done by two different doctors at different facilities. But bottom line, both said he is unfit to stand trial. And today in court, for the first time, we were able to get an understanding or a glimpse of what is in those reports, because the reports themselves are sealed, and so we cannot just go to the court file and read them. But the judge did summarize different parts of them, and those reports referred to him as being delusional, as having auditory hallucinations, for example, thinking people were in the room who were not, generally having a really poor understanding of the court system. One report found that he had untreated psychosis, and another said he was severely mentally ill, most likely with schizophrenia.
Okay, well, we will talk more about this after the break. Welcome back to the WRAL Daily Download. So I understand that Chi, the defendant, actually spoke in court today on his own behalf, which is very unusual, especially given the nature of this specific hearing. What did he say, and how did the judge respond?
Yeah, you know as well as I, it is super unusual for a defendant in this situation to ever do that. And in his very first hearing here that we came to in September, he did just that, where he spoke at length to the court. And so we kind of knew that was a possibility going into today. And sure enough, he did address the court yet again. This time he was talking about how he had concerns because he had not yet seen the mental health evaluations, the psychiatric evaluations, the reports that were performed on him. He also talked about how he wanted those evaluations to be public because they are under seal. He said, no, I want them to be public. And the judge, advised him not to speak to the court. She said there's no hybrid representation. He's represented by attorneys. And if he wants to say anything to the court, he needs to be speaking through his attorneys.
Understood. And, you mentioned before the break all of the things that these two evaluations said, basically that he is not able or fit at this point to stand trial. So what was the judge's ruling today based on all of that information?
Yeah, so she agreed with the two reports and found that because of what they say, he is unfit to stand trial at this point. She also talked about concerns that he's not cooperating with his own attorneys. And so he wouldn't really be able to perhaps put on any kind of defense since he's not working with them. And she decided immediately at the conclusion of this hearing, he needed to be sent to Butner, to a prison, Butner, and the psychiatric hospital that they have there, which is a 24/7 mental health facility. So it was an involuntary commitment to full-time mental health treatment.
And, people have been watching this case and will be watching this case very closely. This was such a traumatic event for the Chapel Hill community, for the campus, for parents, for staff, for students. So what are the possible outcomes of what's going on with this case based on what happened today?
Yeah, so I think, a lot of people will hear he's not fit to stand trial and think maybe like end of story, he's not going to trial, but that's not the case necessarily. So the idea of this mental health facility is hopefully to rehabilitate him and to get him to a point at which he would be fit to stand trial, whether that's months or even years down the line. So that's one possibility, that he is successfully rehabilitated, recovers, restores mental capacity, and then is able to stand trial. There's also the possibility that the court finds that he is unable to be rehabilitated based on what the doctors are telling them at the mental health facility. And just one other note, even if he is rehabbed and is able to stand trial, I know personally I've covered a case actually here in Orange County too, where a similar thing happened, where there were mental competency questions and found unfit, and then a lot of rehab, and then the person did go to trial, but still actually at trial was found not guilty by reason of insanity. So there are a lot of outcomes that could come into play, but I think the big thing right now is just, will he be able to be rehabbed or not?
Absolutely. And is there a timeline? Did they set another date for another hearing, or is it kind of up in the air at this point?
No, it's up in the air. So I think this may be something, we don't hear anything on, perhaps even for months.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your coverage, Sarah. And I know you will continue to follow this case and keep us up to date. This has been the WRAL Daily Download, a production of WRAL News. Check out my new true crime podcast from WRAL Studios. The Killing Month, August 1978, details the investigation into several serial murders carried out by a band of outlaw brothers in Pennsylvania. The entire show, episodes 1 through 8, are available now wherever you get your podcasts.